I'm Ally Padron. Welcome to my home. Today I'm going to be talking about all the things I did not do for my wedding. Now friend, if you are planning a wedding and you're wondering, is this really necessary? It's not. You're correct. It's not necessary. You don't have to do it. You shouldn't have to do it. So much money can go into a wedding. I think the average for where I live in California is around $35,000 to $40,000 for one day of your life. And it's an important day, don't get me wrong, but that's a lot of money, right? So if we can cut that down as much as possible, I'm all for it. With my wedding, it was a pretty budget wedding. I think total was under $12,000. So I will do a separate video later just talking about how I budgeted, how I got it down to that level. One of the things that contributed to having such a budget wedding was cutting things out, because the more people you have, the more things you got going on, the more expensive it's gonna be. Common sense, right? And so I hope this video encourages you that you have permission not to do things. There are so many things I just went, no, it's not happening today. I'm not gonna spend money on that. I'm not gonna spend time coordinating that. And it's not like I don't love my guests. Of course I do. The reason I'm inviting them to my wedding is because I love them and I want to celebrate with them. But that's the main point. That's the big picture, and we can lose sight of it in the details. So, without further ado, let me just share with you all the things I didn't do. All right, first on the list. I did not have a maid of honor, and my husband did not have a best man. We didn't want to pick a favorite friend out of our friends who was supposed to pay more money than the rest of them, and yeah, it just wasn't for us. All of my friends that were part of my wedding party were my bridesmaids, and I love them to death. They were all, each individually, so amazing and important. A garter. I did not have a garter. I just feel like it would have been uncomfortable to wear. Maybe there are comfortable garters, but it's just like one other thing on your body. And the whole thing of my man going down my skirt in front of all my friends and family, it's not for me. We'll keep that to ourselves, you know, in our own private bedroom. Thank you very much. Ring bearer, we did not have it. We also did not have a flower girl. So I didn't have any young cousins that were in the age of like 4 to 6 that were still like super cute that I wanted to participate as a flower girl in my wedding. And then for ring bearer, we also didn't have that many options, but to have a very young baby, like a toddler or a 5-year-old hold our rings, that's a big responsibility and that's a lot of pressure for them. We didn't have a lot of kids at our wedding period, so there just wasn't anybody that really fit the role for that, and they'd have to come to rehearsals potentially, and I just felt like that's too much pressure for a kid. I don't want to put that on any of my cousins or Tristan's cousins, so we just opted out not having that. We held on to our rings safely. Babe, who held the ring for a wedding? Yeah. Actually, we didn't even do a ring exchange. We just wore our rings. So I had both my rings on when I walked down the aisle, and Tristan has a tattoo ring. So we were both just wearing it. I also feel like the ring exchange was easy to cut out because that's at every single wedding. We all know what the ring symbolizes. We all know what it means. We can just skip that part. We got the ring, we got the symbols. Don't need to do the whole big ordeal, is what I thought. When thinking about the things that we were cutting down on as well, it wasn't just cutting down on money or cutting down on items, it was also cutting down on time. Because with the addition of like a ring ceremony, for example, or having a flower girl and a ring bearer, that adds time into your ceremony. And I wanted as much time to go into eating and dancing and having a good time than the ceremony and things that I thought were fluff. Next, we did not do a grand entrance or a grand exit. Now, if you don't know what that means, a grand exit is at the very end of the night when the bride and groom leaves and goes usually in like a nice car, a limo, and there's sparklers or people are throwing rice or bubbles or something like that. And it's an opportunity for a really cool photo. So you're going through both lanes of guests, and then you walk, and then you kiss, and the photographer can take a really nice shot. But Tristan and I stayed till the very end of the wedding, and we were cleaning up along with everybody else who was helping with us. So we didn't leave at some point in the night. I know that's typical for brides and grooms, but I personally felt weird about it. I was like, no, this is my event. I want to be here from beginning to end, and I want to help with setup, and I want to help with cleanup, as well as being a part of the event. We also did not do a big grand entrance, or any grand entrance for that matter. Usually grand entrances happen at the beginning of the reception, and it's coming out of a cocktail hour. So you have the ceremony, which happens first. You say the vows, all that. After the end of the ceremony, usually the bride and groom leave. They go to a separate room, they sign paperwork, they just spend time together. During this time is a cocktail hour where guests are just kind of waiting either for the reception room to be set up in a more banquet style, or I don't know what they're waiting for. But we didn't have a cocktail hour either. So we didn't have a grand entrance because we went straight from the ceremony into the reception. And our tables were already set up banquet style so that our guests were sitting in the same spot for the ceremony and the reception. So we didn't have to re-enter back in for the reception and be like, Mr. and Mrs. We just went straight into it. I also just want to note that us setting it up banquet style, where the guests were in the same place for both the ceremony and the reception, saved a lot of time, saved money because you got to entertain the guests somehow during this cocktail hour, which happens in between, saved labor. It was just, I highly recommend having your ceremony setup be the same as your reception setup. It's just easier, less transition. So, we did not have a cake. There was no cake cutting, none of it. We had a dessert bar, and it was fabulous. We had all our favorite desserts there. One of my bridesmaids just brought us a cute little plate that had the desserts on it at our table, so we had our own little mini dessert bar for ourselves. The guests could go up and grab whatever they wanted. There was variety, so no cake. All right, another thing I'm gonna include is we did not have a large guest count. We had a pretty small wedding, and again, if you're trying to have a budget wedding, the number of people largely contributes to the price of your wedding, especially if you're at a venue that counts per head. Our venue wasn't like that, but still we kept in mind the mouths we had to feed, and so our guest list was around 100 people, I want to say, and between 80 to 90 came. So it was a relatively smaller wedding. I did have a bouquet. It was DIY'd by my friend Ariel, and my friend Nani also helped with the bridesmaids' bouquets. I loved it. It was super simple with just eucalyptus, white roses, and baby's breath. However, I did not do a bouquet toss, and I just felt like it was unnecessary. I think for the guys, the garter is what's tossed, and that's awkward. So yeah, we didn't do a garter and a garter toss, and we didn't do a bouquet toss. I did not have escort cards, and escort cards are little like name tags or little cards with the guest's name on it, and basically they can pick it up and take it to their table, from what I understand. We just had a seating chart that listed people by table number. There's a bunch of different ways you can do a seating chart. You can list it alphabetically, by table number. I'm sure there's other ways to organize it. We did by table number. Guests just looked at it and went to their table. They could sit wherever they wanted on the table. There wasn't assigned seating, only assigned tables. Okay, we did not do favors or gifts. So pretty self-explanatory, but I saw a bunch of videos like this, things that wedding guests do not care about, and one of those things were the favors or the gifts. Sometimes people can include like a little gift baggie, or they'll have like little succulents on the table, or something small like that. It adds up. Don't get me wrong, it adds up. So that was another thing in terms of keeping the wedding budget and cutting down a cost. But it was also something I didn't think guests would really appreciate. A lot of favors are not taken up by the guests. So you'll just see at the end of a wedding, empty tables, and there's just a bunch of favors and a bunch of gifts all over the tables. Alcohol. There was no alcohol at our wedding. We did have it in a church, and I think it may have been a requirement for the venue that we had not to have alcohol. So sometimes you're just restricted in that way, even if you are down to have alcohol and the venue doesn't want it. We did not provide alcohol. It's an expense that really adds up, and Tristan and I personally don't drink that much, so we had Tasty, which is a boba place, instead, and that was actually a really big hit. We also had sodas, we also had water. I mean, of course we had water. So there was a variety for our guests to choose from in regards to drinks. All right, a choreographed first dance. We were initially not going to do this, but we did. But it was something I was going to cut out. And in a sense, we didn't learn a special choreographed dance for our wedding. It was a dance we had previously choreographed 3 years ago, and it's how Tristan and I basically got together. So it was kind of a full circle moment to perform the piece again. We didn't go full out hardcore, but we did do Love Me Less at our wedding, and it was a really special moment. That was definitely a highlight of the night. I'm really glad we did it. But if it were to be like a bride dance for the groom or a groom dance for the bride, I feel like that's a lot of work to coordinate, and I would know because I've done so many dance projects in my life. I just didn't want to have that in addition to all the things I was already planning for a pretty big event. I would have opted out if it were that situation. Hair and makeup vendor. We did not have that. I mean, for guys, there's not much to do, but for girls, all my girls wanted to do their own hair and makeup, and my mother-in-law so graciously offered to pay for a hairstylist for all of us, but I asked all my girls, and they were like, nah, I'll do it myself, and I was like, okay. And I did my own hair. I braided it, like a half up, half down with braids, and I curled it. Since my hair was short at the time, I don't think that was the best look for my short hair. It's not a regret, but I think it would have looked prettier if I had long hair, and for short hair, maybe I would have done something different in retrospect, but I did my own hair and makeup, so didn't need it. Okay, these are big ones. I'm just gonna put them together. We didn't have a videographer, we didn't have a DJ, and we didn't have speeches. You heard me, no speeches. So let me just break these down. Most weddings have these things. Most weddings have speeches, a DJ, and a videographer. We had a photographer. He's amazing. His name is Joshua Chun, and he was incredible. Yeah, I think for us, we were weighing like photo or video because both can be really expensive. Josh definitely gave us the friend discount, so thanks to him, but he is an incredible photographer, and he's worth every penny. Video. I don't like wedding videos. I'm sorry. They look all the same to me. And I mean no shade if you're a videographer or specifically a wedding videographer. I'm sure you are worth your wage, you know? You are. And you do good work for all the couples out there. But it just seems so polished. Polished is a nice way of putting it. For me personally, I think it's kind of corny. I think they all look the same. I think they don't really mean anything to anybody except the couple. And I wanted a more raw video of our wedding if we were going to have a video. So we just had a tripod set up, and it recorded our ceremony. We had friends who recorded during the wedding and sent us the footage. So shout out to Caroline Cha. I asked her in advance, I was like, can you please just record our dance that we were gonna do? But she did much more than that, and she got a lot of footage just on her own iPhone. So I really like that. I hope I can compile the pieces together one day. but I highly prefer a more vlog style wedding video as opposed to a professionally done one, and that's why. So don't come for me, wedding videographers. Y'all are amazing. I really respect what you do. Just wasn't my cup of tea. A DJ. So between NJ, Ariel, and Tristan, they created a great Spotify playlist, and it was fun. It did the job. I don't think a DJ could have done much more than just the music that we had. Yeah, no regrets in regards to not having a DJ. I know DJs really can set the mood and the tone and the flow of a reception especially, so mad respect to DJs as well, but because we had an MC, I think that helped a lot in regards to the flow. So having an MC and having just a bomb Spotify playlist is more than enough. Speeches, okay. Y'all, I didn't want to risk it. I didn't know who would be talking. I mean, I would know who'd be talking, but I think speeches can be chaotic. I'm not sure if it's just what I've seen in movies where there's always a drunk person and somebody wants to grab the mic and somebody goes way too long and gets really emotional, and I know all of those can be really special moments to a couple during the wedding. But I was like, I could do without. You know, if you really want to express your advice or opinions or feelings for me and Tristan, write me a letter. Like, doesn't have to be this big moment that takes up, again, time during the schedule. So we just cut it out. Didn't do it. Didn't do it. Last but not least, because the only thing I regret is not doing the money dance. I wish we would have done it. My friend suggested it to me while we were engaged and while we were planning the wedding, but at the time, when I heard what it was initially, I was like, ooh, I don't want people touching me. Like, that seems weird, and I kind of already had everything set up and laid out, so I was like, nah, I'm good. But the more I heard about it, I'm not sure if it's more of a Latina, Filipino culture thing, but when I heard more about it, I was like, oh, that sounds really wholesome. And just the guys dancing with the groom and girls coming up and dancing with the bride and old people dancing with the couple. And I was like, aw, man, I wish we would have done that. So that is my only regret for the wedding, is I wish we did the money dance. Let me know if you and your culture does the money dance. I'm not sure if it's cultural, but it sounds really fun. Oh, let me explain what the money dance is real quick. So apparently, somebody just announces, okay, the bride and groom are gonna come up and do the money dance, so get your cash ready. And then people go and they have cash with them and they dance with the couple and they put the cash in like the groom's pockets, or the bride can wear like a little satchel or purse, or maybe the maid of honor or one of the bridesmaids is with the bride and she's collecting the money. So it's another way to get more dough, but it just sounded really like nice and wholesome the more I thought about it, and if you're down for that, I think that would have been really fun. Okay, my friends, that is a list of everything that I did not do for my wedding. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you felt permission in a sense to be like, yeah, I don't need to do that. And of course, it is a dual decision between you and your fiance, you and your partner. In regards to keeping things in or out of the wedding, it should be something you both mutually agree upon, but there's a lot of things that really just aren't necessary. And if it's not important to you guys as a couple, don't feel like you need to keep it. It's your guys' day. If you are married and had a wedding, please do leave in the comments below what you did not do for your wedding and if you regret it or not. I would love to hear more opinions, and I think it's important for other soon-to-be brides or soon-to-be married people hearing, you don't have to do all the things that are pressured in regards to a wedding. Like, you don't have to do all the things your coordinator is like, you have to do this. That's another thing I didn't have. I did not have a wedding coordinator or a planner. That's a bonus one. I planned the whole wedding myself. So it's possible, you can do it. It is a big event. I mean, from this video, there's a lot of things I didn't do that typical weddings have, so that made it easier for me as my own personal planner. But yes, weddings are fun. Weddings should be an amazing event for you as a going to be married person. We can cut out a lot of the stress by cutting out a lot of the things that you feel like you have to do, but you really don't. Thank you so much for coming over. I loved having you. I hope to see you again in a future video. I just came out of a wedding season, so I probably will do a couple more wedding videos that I would have loved to hear when I was preparing to be married. So I think I'll do a budget one coming up, maybe one that's like all the things I bought on Amazon for my wedding. So if any of those sound interesting to you, please do stick around, press the subscribe, like and comment and subscribe. And yes, I will see you again soon. Bye.